Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another standard gameplay video, this time featuring bats, which is one of the creature types which has received a lot of support in Bloomburrow, and bats are all about gaining and losing life. So without further ado, let's get into the new cards. First up is Essence Channeler, and this is the replacement for Voice and the Blessed. And in some ways it's better, but in some ways it's worse. So it's 2 mana 2/1, and like Voice of the Blessed, it has whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Essence Channeler. But one of the big buffs it has is when Essence Channeler dies, put its counters on target creature you control. So you can put it on one of your other life linking bats, which is really, really good. But it also has, as long as you've lost life this turn, Essence Channeler has flying and vigilance. So unlike Voice of the Blessed, which gains those keywords when it's got 4 or more counters on it, you can get this anytime. You just have to have lost life to do so. What I think makes this a bit worse than Voice of the Blessed is that 1 toughness. With Voice of the Blessed, you could play it, gain life by playing it, and it'll get counters on it, and immediately 1 counter makes it a 3/3, which makes it out of range of cut down, out of range of shock or play with fire, and 2 counters puts it out of range of lightning strike. That 1 toughness makes it a lot worse in my opinion. It comes down with, if you put a counter on it, it's a 3/2, it still gets hit by cut down, it still gets hit by shock, which makes it a lot worse against mono red. It's good that it can put counters elsewhere, and you can kind of trigger the flying and vigilance whenever you want, as long as you've got the means to do so. But I do think overall it is a bit worse than Voice of the Blessed. Next up we have Live Creed Duo, which is the replacement for Lunar Veteran. Say 2 mana 1/2 with flying. It says whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. So very basic. It is worse than Lunar Veteran because it costs 2 mana, but it is a 1/2 with flyer, so it can get damage as well. Next up we have 3 copies of Starscape Cleric. It's a 1 mana 2/1 with Offspring for 2 and a black. Offspring means when you can cast it, you can pay that additional cost. If you do, when it ETBs, you get a 1/1 token copy of it, which is exactly the same. So it has all the other abilities, and they are flying. This creature can't block, but as whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is a great way to ping your opponent repeatedly. Next up, we've got 2 copies of Lunar Convocation, and this is a card that I took out and put back in a few times. It's a 2 mana enchantment. It says beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, each opponent loses 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained and lost life this turn, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying, and you can pay 2 life and draw a card. So it can call you to lose life to trigger that second one. One of the reasons I ummed and ahed is the format is so fast. Mono red is everywhere, as you can expect. It has somehow got better, I think, than previously, and it is a massive problem. Having a 2 mana card that doesn't do anything the turn it comes down is dangerous. We also have a lot of other 2-drops, so if you have this in your open hand, you can't replay it on turn 2 because it doesn't do anything. If you draw it late, fine, you can get it down, draw a card, hopefully gain life elsewhere and get that bat, but early on that doesn't really work. Next up we have 4 copies of Darkstar Augur, Bat Bob. Works very similar to a old card called Dark Confident. So it's a 3 mana 2/3 with Offspring for 1 black, so you can get 2 of these for 4. And it's flying. So beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. That's what Dark Confident did, which is why it's called Bat Bob. Dark Confident was a card designed by one of the winners of the World Championships back when you could, the winner were allowed to design a card. This is a great way to draw, get through your deck. It is dangerous. I have literally lost games because of I went down to 2 thinking I could swing it for lethal. Had 2 of these, 1 triggered, drew a land, the other triggered, drew a 2 mana removal spell. But also because it causes you to lose life, unless you draw 2 lands, it will trigger your Essence Channeler, your Lunar Convocation, which is really, really useful. And next up we have 4 copies of Zoraline, Cosmos Caller. It is legendary. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with flying and vigilance. Whenever a bat you control attacks, you gain 1 life. That is really, really powerful, as almost every single creature in a deck is a bat. And it says when a Zoraline enters or attacks, you may pay a white and a black and 2 life. When you do, return target non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or lesser and graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. This is a great way to get things back from your graveyard. If you've been removed, get the value and get those triggers again. And returning cards, we have 4 copies of Casey Uneaten Feast. Whenever a creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. To solve it, you gain 5 or more life this turn, and once solved, you can sacrifice it to creature cards in your graveyard. Again, you may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. Then we have 4 copies of Ruin Lurker Bat, a 1 mana, 1/1 fly and lifelink. And so at the beginning of your end step, if you descended, which means if a permanent goes to your graveyard from anywhere, you scry it 1. 3 copies of Get Lost. I've gone with Get Lost over Cut Down and Go for the Throat, because this can target enchantments and planeswalkers, but it's mostly enchantments. This can deal with virtues. This can deal with temporary lockdown, which is obviously temporary lockdown basically wipes our entire board. So it's a great way to get things back. So this is why I've gone for this over the other ones. Yes, there is more downside to this because it gives your opponent map tokens, but I think it's worth it. Then 4 copies of Deep Cavern Bat, flying lifelink. When it ECBs, look at the top target opponent's hand, you may exile a non-land card from it until Deep Cavern Bat leaves the battlefield. This, it's a really good card when it doesn't look at your opponent's hand and they've got 3 removal spells, at which point it's just like, well, no point playing, you just wasted 2 mana essentially. But you can't really do anything about that. It's just frustrating. And all the decks in Standard seem to be mono red, which obviously have burn spells, and some kind of black deck which has a lot of removal spells. But that's just the way it is. And finally, we have 1 copy of Gix. Just a great way to draw extra cards, seeing as every other creature in our deck has flying, although the Essence Chandler needs a bit of work to get there. So getting in for extra, getting in for damage and getting card draw isn't that difficult, and because of our life gain, that 1 life it costs us isn't really that much of an issue as well. Mana base is pretty standard. We do have 1 Mudflat Village in case we want to get one of our bats back from the graveyard. Cave of Koilos and Thran Portal are really important because they cost life to pay for coloured mana. Well, Thran Portal costs life no matter what. Cave of Koilos you can tap for colourless for free, but tapping for white or black costs 1 life. So it's a great way to trigger our Essence Chandler and Lunar Convocation. But be wary, Magic's Arena's auto tapper does not tap them for coloured mana unless it needs to. There have been times where I've played out a card thinking it would tap and I would be able to swing in with Vigilance with my Channeler, and it hasn't. So be careful. Thran Portal, you can only tap it for coloured mana, and it always costs 1 life, so there's less of an issue. And we do have Restless Fortress, which can be slightly annoying because we don't like tap lands because we have a very low curve, but the Restless Fortress can turn into 1/4 creature, and when it attacks, Defending Power loses 2 life and gains 2 life. That 1/4 stat line is quite bad because of cut down, but it's always been like that. It's very frustrating knowing your opponent's got a cut down and then targeting this, but at least it can trigger your Essence Chandler again by attacking and draining them. That's the deck. It's not as powerful as I thought it would be. If any of you watch any of people's decks in early access, it looked a lot more powerful in early access because people weren't playing mono red anywhere near as much. But when it works, it really works, and it can be quite fun. I hope you all enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the gameplay. We go first, but no 1-drops. This is better. I suppose we put the Ruin Lurker bat away. Forest maybe. Yeah, looks like it. And they've got the demolition. And the warden. At least we, well, do they have... They don't have the Knight Errant. way to trigger own life loss would be good. At least we can get the Essence Channeler back. Alright, let's play out the case. Yeah, quite a lot of value there. I don't know why they tapped down to buff their only defender. Well, no black mana, and we're on the draw. So that's an easy mulligan. This is better. 2 cases. We'll put back the swamp. And then an Essence Channel is a good draw. And another Essence Challenger. Well, I was wondering about temporary lockdown. So let's get into their hand and have a look. See, they have something. They do have temporary lockdown. At least Lay Down Arms is a sorcery. But at least we now know to not play out any more things. Just all the removal. I don't know why they're not Lay Down Arms in the Deep Cavern Bat. Well, they are now. Have they run out of sweepers? Well, if they don't have a sweeper, they're dead. And they are dead. Yeah, just all removal doesn't necessarily do much. We can feast into duo and hopefully we draw the extra land for Zoraline. So up against Boros. Start growing our channeler. Well, I assume Boros. Maybe it's just mono white humans. Well, let's start. So I assume they have resolute reinforcements. Yep. Drawing a Caves of Koilos would be, or the Twan portal would be very, very useful. Not just the plains, so the channel's far too big for even Night Aeron. That's... I suppose they do have another one. And next time we can ruin Lurker Bat and Deep Cavern Bat. Well, there's the red mana. Oh, we did already have mountains. Wouldn't mind... Well, we can't play Gix, so... Well, let's get down 2 more bats. Yeah, don't forget one another Wally, that's cool. Obviously they've got a chump. Where are those Caves of Koilos? Next time we can play Darkstar Augur. Fortunately, it enters tapped. So we'll have to wait another turn. Just quickly doing some maths. We're up to 28. They'll be able to hit us for a lot, but not lethal. And next turn we can tap the Thran Portal to take a damage and just get in with the Channeler. If our opponent still wants to play, that is, which doesn't really look like they do. Well, we'll just swing in. Minus a lot. We're on the play. We can get down Fortress first and then Live Creed Duo and Deep Cavern Bat. So not the fastest of hands, but we're on the play. And obviously get lost for removal. Seen a Terramorphic Expanse for a while. Playable Passage is back in Standard, so usually people would play that. I think I'm going to play out the Deep Cavern Bat. We have drawn a lot more lands than we wanted to. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yep. The really annoying thing is Fortress. Wow. Fortress dies to cut down as well. I'm going to try and bait out, cut down. Yep. I don't know why they waited till we attacked. But at least next turn we can Life Creed Duo and Essence Channeler. Hopefully they don't have more removal. I'd quite like to draw Zoraline. They're 2 turns away from how to play Virtue. We can get Lost the Roaming Throne if we need to. Well. The Zoraline would be very nice. I imagine that's more removal.
Something suspicious is going on. And for once, it's not my fault. I've always hated crowds.
Holy moly. Why? We have 23 lands. We don't need 7 of them.
Knew this was a waste of time.
8 of them. We have seen a quarter of our deck. And this is where we really lose. We just drew far too many lands. Which in a 23 land deck shouldn't really happen. So we're on the draw, but we have an okay hand. They can play Gix. Only having one planes is a bit annoying. Yeah, I'm going to have to get this down to start growing it. So at least it can block a Gix. And next turn we can probably get lost the Shoulder, assuming they play it. Should have played the Concealed Courtyard then last turn. Well, that's a bit annoying. Let's get this down with Offspring. This will put it up to a 7-6. So they have to block with everything, basically. And next turn, because of the Darkstar Augurs, we will take damage. So the Channeler will be a flyer with Vigilance. Oh, that's an issue. We can play the case and then Offspring out they may just be dead. Yeah. That's one way to burn an opponent out. Or we can ruin Lurker Bat into Essence Challenger. And then Thran Portal. Well, we'll play this on black. Swing in, and the Channeler having Menace now is pretty good. Not Menace, Vigilance. Let's play out another Cleric. And yeah, I think we actually had lethal. They didn't have anything in response. Attack for 6, 8, 9, and then because we gained a life, the 2 clerics would have pinged them for 2. Hello Magic fans, and welcome back to the wrap up. So we played 10 games with this deck with a 50% win rate, so right down the middle. On the play 6, on the draw 4. This is actually the second time I did the deck. I did change it, not massively, but the first time had a similar win rate, but I think I was on the play twice and on the draw 13 times, and I just thought that was absolutely ridiculous. So I made a few changes and just completely wiped all the footage, deleted all the data and started again and got to roughly the same win rate. I think the problem with the deck is, one, removal. It is a heavily creature-based deck. Well, it is a purely only creature-based deck with so much removal in standard, but it has been like that for always, forever, ages, and any creature-based deck is going to suffer. I've had games where it's literally, player 1 drop, cut down, player 2 drop, cut down, or play Deep Cavern Bat and they've still got 3 removal spells, and you kind of go, there's no point. We only have 4 more, 3 more creatures in our hand, and they're all going to get removed, at which point you're top decking and you're not going to get anywhere. I think Zoraline should have walled of something. You play it on, if you play it on turn 3 with 2 other bats, it's great, but it's so easy to remove. And a 3-mana 3/3 with Flying and Vigilance isn't as good as it used to be. And I think the Essence Channeler either should be a 2/2 or a 1/2. As I said in the deck tech, I think it having 1 power, 1 toughness makes it so much worse than Voice of the Blessed. It's so easy to kill. And I think that it's one of those decks of, if you get mono red, you're on the draw, you might as well concede, because unless they do something really wrong or they have a really bad draw, you're not winning, because you're playing a case of the Uneaten Feast on turn 1, playing an Essence Channel on turn 2. It's a 3/2. They played a Monetary Swift Spear or 2 Monetary Swift Spears or a Slickshot Show Off, shock your creature, Monstrous Rage or whatever, and they're hitting you for 8 and you have no creatures. So the amount of mono red in the standard is frustrating, and they've only made it better with the mono red mice, which I think they need to do something about, which they're not going to. I think it's everywhere, and it's not fun to play against. And I think this deck really suffers for mono red being in the format, it's not quick enough to be a proper aggro deck. It is not, it's not controlly at all. You do have games where everything goes right, but they're few and far between. So, you know, I love Lifegain. I've done Lifegain a few times on this channel, and for those who've watched it, you know how much I like Lifegain. It's just annoying that I think it's in a quite bad place with a creature type built specifically for Lifegain and life loss, but with how quick the meta is, life loss is just dangerous, I think. So yeah, but I did enjoy playing it when I wasn't playing against mono red. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video.